Lauren's intro dance again. Okay. So, welcome to Whining with the Witches. I am Brittany, and
I'm Lauren.
today we are doing the Mother's Day special. Yay!
Yay!
So, this one is gonna be all about like our experience with our moms growing up and how they feel about our witchy spiritual journeys and maybe a little bit of witchy stuff that they do themselves. So, I guess we'll just start off with your mom, Lauren, and we'll just kind of talk about how our moms feel about us being witches or calling ourselves witches. So, what about your mom?
So my mom, and I do want to preface that both of us have really good relationships with our moms. I
Yes,
think
we
because
do.
not everyone has that, so I think us starting with that is important to like set the tone.
Yeah, I don't think we would have a Mother's Day special if we didn't.
We're here to talk shit. No,
Yes.
Um, my mom has always supported me through life with, like, all the weird nonsense that I do, so it did take me a while before, like, I told her or and I hate using the phrase, but, like, coming out of the broom closet, uh,
Yeah.
but I did eventually tell her, and she does support me through that, she goes to, like, metaphysical shops with me and things like that, I'm sure she genuinely fears for my soul, but
She just
I
doesn't tell you.
yeah, but she still respects my decisions, and we very much support each other's religious choices.
Yeah.
Um, she often prays before she eats. I
Mhm.
don't, but then anytime there's like a full moon, and I'm like, okay, I'm going outside, you
She
know,
knows what that means.
yeah, and she's like, okay, have fun, you know,
Aw.
so yeah, yeah. What
So
about, yeah,
so with my mom, I think since it's definitely much newer too, if you guys haven't like heard or watched our previous episodes, Lauren has been in her or along her witchcraft journey much longer than me. So it's still a new thing for me and my mom, but um she doesn't she let me preface with my mom has accepted my weird shit since I was a kid. Like all of my weird hobbies, all of my weird like fascinations. I went through a huge cosplaying phase. I went through a huge collecting ball jointed dolls phase. Then I'm still sort of in my Lolita phase. So these things don't phase my mom at all. We're generally just within me and my mom's little bubble. We're not a hugely religious family. So the whole witchcraft thing was just like for her probably another weird thing that I'm into. She's like, okay, here's another one.
she
um,
crossed out another square on the bingo card.
yes, you're like the Britney shit of weirdness bingo
Yeah,
card. Yes.
yeah.
So she doesn't care. She's let me do a few tarot readings for her, even though she was just like she didn't really take it seriously, but she also wasn't like
Here's my
mean
cat,
about
by
it.
the way.
Oh, we have another guest star. This is Tapello.
Hi, Capella. Can you say hello? No?
She's not a very good co-host.
No.
But yeah, so my mom is she has her own, I guess, relationship with religion. Because growing up, I used to go to church with my grandmom a lot. I used to do Sunday school while the adults went to like adult church, I guess. And but we were never like a hugely religious family. In
Yeah.
fact, I'm like as I went through this like phase of being like vehemently anti-religion.
Yeah.
I've grown out of that a little bit, but I'm still kind of like that. So, I'm guessing your mom still like goes to church and does all of that.
She doesn't. So growing up, we did go to church, and I went to
Mhm.
Sunday school. We stopped going to church probably when I was maybe around 9 or so, and I
Oh,
think it
you're
has
young.
less yeah, I think it has less to do with, like, the act of going to church and that my ADHD was just raging.
Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense. That makes sense.
yeah, But I also went to a Christian private school up until second
Yeah.
grade. And then my grandfather, who we were very close with, he actually he wasn't raised super religious. I learned this recently. He transitioned into
Oh,
devout Southern Baptist practice. The rest of his family is not religious like that.
wow. Interesting.
Yeah, and nobody really knows why or what exactly happened.
Yeah.
So very much like my opinions of that, like I went to church with my grandfather, went to church growing up. So it was always kind of like there.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
my mom is definitely a believer of you don't have to go to church to have a relationship with God.
Mhm.
So yeah.
That's how my mom is as well. She and my grandmom too. So I liked going to church because in down south all the music was awesome.
Yeah, it was
No,
good.
and then we would like eat after. So for me, of course, my tourist ass just enjoyed the food and the music.
I was gonna say, and I think this is underappreciated. After church Southern food
Yeah.
gatherings, those old ladies know how to cook. It's
Yes.
so
They
good.
throw down.
It's so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I still remember that mac and cheese, you
I
know?
and that's and so, I used to go down in Florida, so we'd have, like, fish and,
Yeah.
of course, chicken and everything, and then especially if I was there 'cause I mostly there in the summer, we'd have, like, fresh watermelon and fresh melons, and so good.
Yeah.
Don't remember a lick of the church part, only the music
Yeah.
and the food.
Yeah.
But, so that's interesting because even though I grew up in Philly and, you grew up in Houston, our experience with church is still a lot of that, like, Southern
Yeah.
religion. So, I'm curious, especially with your mom, does she do any things that are surprisingly, like, witchy?
She does. And as I did do a little bit of thinking before this podcast. I know I told you I came unprepared. Um, so growing up, ooh, sorry. Um, I had and she still talks about this, and it wasn't until recently that I was like, "Oh no, this was a real thing." Um,
Mhm.
I had a crow that was just my friend. He came and sat at the bus stop with me every morning.
This is the
And
most Lauren thing I've ever heard in my life.
I named him. His name was Emery. Um, and my mom would be like, "Oh, Emery's there." And I would go outside and make crow caws at this crow. I assume it was the same crow because it came back every day. And my mom weirdly you're crying. And my mom weirdly supported that.
That's so funny.
And it's very much like the TikTok sound she's a witch, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah. Um like outside of just me being really weird and her being like, "Yeah, my daughter talks to crows." Um very much I don't know if other people do this, but find a penny, pick it up, and for whatever
Yeah.
time you'll have good luck.
Mhm.
And then over time, that's transitioned to if it's heads up, she takes that as a sign from my grandfather.
Yeah.
And specifically because of a memory that she had with him. And
Mhm.
then since his passing, there have been times to where we've gone and as a family had to do really difficult things. Um,
Mhm.
and we would return to a spot and then there would be a penny or a dime. And she
Yeah.
very much always interprets that as him.
Oh,
Uh,
I like that.
yeah. And then cardinals and hummingbirds, she definitely interprets as my grandmother. Those are my
Mhm.
grandmother's favorite birds. Um, and then flowers.
Really? All
Yeah,
flowers or just specific
no,
flowers?
just certain ones. Specifically miniature roses she
Oh.
associates with my grandfather. So after her and my dad got a divorce,
Mhm.
we moved into a rental house And like when spring came, there were just miniature roses that started
Oh.
growing in our yard that like we didn't know were there. Uh,
Mhm.
and so she started crying
Aw.
and very much, interpreted that as like her dad being there with her.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, she does it a lot, and I've pointed it out to her before. Because
Mhm.
like I've told her, I was like, there are like Christian witches,
Yeah.
and I'll stand for them until the day I die. They deserve recognition.
Of course, yeah.
And so I was explaining that to her. I was like, there are Christian witches. Like, if you
Mhm.
want to read about that, like I can help
You're
you.
like, "Hint, hint, hint."
Yeah, and she's like, "No, I'm fine." She was like, "I recognize that spirituality and religion are different." Uh,
Okay.
yeah, and some of my other family, like, we do the same thing. Like, my grandpa's brother, who we just call Uncle William, he also associates certain flowers with my grandfather. Uh,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, and I'm trying to think if my great grandmother did anything. I didn't know her super well, uh,
Mhm.
but I'm sure, like, I didn't get a chance to do a lot of research on it, and I'm actually gonna look for, like, a book on it because I think it's super interesting. But Southern superstitions, uh,
Yeah.
like, they have to exist, and I'd be
Oh,
super
yeah.
interested in that kind of realm. If anybody knows anything about that, send an
Yeah, if
email.
you know anything about Southern superstitions and, like, their intersection with, like, folk magic and folk
Yeah,
traditions, let us know.
yeah, yeah. Because okay, people. I have to, like, go back, like, the family. So, like,
You have to
my
go up the tree.
my great-grandmother, provided a lot of health care in her community, so very much like the healer, and
Yeah.
then her mom also provided, healthcare for people within the community, and very much people that couldn't access it.
Mhm.
People wouldn't take care of them because of the disease they had, and
Yeah.
this is, like, at the time, super deep rural South,
Mhm.
so very much like, the church lady that's coming
Right.
to heal you.
Yeah.
It's like, "Okay."
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. You have a lot of, like, I feel like witchiness
Yeah.
in your family. Um,
It's not as
oh,
cool as yours because I know we've talked about it before, so mine is just assumptions, you
yeah.
know? Yeah.
Mine so I only know what my mom tells me, but I don't remember anything in particular in reference to, like, my grandmom, but my mom she told me when she was younger, she used to have, like, prophetic dreams, and when I was younger, I was just like, "Okay," and then when I got older, I was like, "Oh, okay."
You're like, "I
So
understand."
she was, like, saying how, like, sometimes she would dream about someone being pregnant or, the dream version of that, and
Yeah,
then she would, dream about people having accidents and stuff like that, and she said she kinda, like I don't know that she's had that since, like, getting older, and I know that's something sometimes if you don't
yeah,
work it, you like, use it or lose it kinda thing. But then after I got into witchcraft, she told me about her aunt Gladys, who is like her middle namesake. And she was like, I think Aunt Gladys might have been a witch. It was just like the weirdest thing to just randomly say. And she was like, she used to have all of her crystals and crystal jewelry and bracelets up her
yeah,
arms. And she was like, I thought she was just a hippie, but now I think she might have been a witch. And she was like she was telling me something about how, like, the way she worded it I'm translating how she
yeah,
actually said it, but it sounded like Aunt Gladys really tapped into people's energy and, like, not like empath, but more like understanding how people's energies are and being able to read that and use that and stuff like that. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. And then also, apparently, she also had prophetic dreams as well. So I'm like, none of this clicked Do you ever until now? That's that's not normal.
Do you have prophetic dreams?
I don't. I had one. It was very interesting because even after my mom told me and then after I got into witchcraft, I don't think that's something that I'm naturally good at,
Yeah,
but I like, mostly because I don't remember my dreams very
yeah.
rarely. It's usually when I'm going through, like, a phase of binge watching wild TV or movies that I remember those crazy dreams. But this dream actually was pretty recent, and I just had a dream that, like, my mom was sick, and I don't remember in the dream what sickness it was, but it made
Yeah.
me really uneasy. So I called her, and I was like, "Hey," just morning call over coffee, and she was like, "So I'm in the hospital, but I'm okay." And I was like, I had a dream about you being sick and being in the hospital." And then that's how we got started talking about the
Oh, okay.
prophetic dreams. And I was like, but I
Interesting.
didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to, like manifest it.
Yeah.
But it definitely made me worried. I was like worried when I was calling her, but I was trying not to freak her out.
Yeah.
But
Calm
she
you
was
down.
okay, so it wasn't, like, that big of a deal. It was mildly serious, but she was fine.
Yeah.
So that's my story, my one, like, tap into my mom's and great great aunt's prophetic dreams, I guess.
Yeah.
But, I mean, have you ever had anything like that happen?
So I dream a lot. Um, Fun fact, people who have like clinical depression, your brains just dream at a higher like statistic.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I guess we're doing this. So I've always like just dreamed a lot. And then
Mhm.
I've gone through stages to where I was like, I want to document them. And then I'm like, nope, not going to do that. Too much work. Uh,
Yeah.
but I do have I don't know if I would consider them like prophetic. I don't know how to say that word, but
You said it right.
extreme moments of deja vu. Uh,
Okay.
to where I'll dream like something that feels very, very real. And specifically one before I had gotten my grad school acceptance, I
Mhm.
had a dream about here's Stapello again. I had a dream about being in grad school and doing something like really specific with like really specific people.
Yeah.
And I woke up and I was just like, "What in the world?" Because like, I had no context of, like, what it was that was
Mhm.
happening, and I was like, I, like, didn't even couldn't even recognize, like, where I was,
Mhm.
and then last month, that happened. So, it was, like, a very long period of time between
Yeah.
each dream, but then, like, the people were right, the action was right, um, and it was just, like, one of those, like, very distinct, like, wild moments,
Interesting. So
and
it's
I don't
almost like you're reliving the dream, but in
yeah,
real life, like it's
yeah,
actually happening.
and I don't know, 'cause so I've talked about this with so many people. I don't know if I'm like, "Yeah, deja vu's real," just because I know, like, the science behind dreams and memories and how we
Yeah.
create memories and those things.
Mhm.
But creating persons that I didn't know at the time and,
Yeah.
like, the critique space we were in that I had never been in before, uh,
Mhm.
so that's probably the one I remember as being, like, the most wild that I was just like
I guess that is kind of prophetic
Yeah.
in a way, but I know what you mean about deja vu. I should ask my mom too about that because I she has, like, the memory of an elephant. She either remembers everything or nothing. There's
Nothing.
no in between. So, she will remember, like, details from,
Okay.
like,
Good
my
one.
events
Hey.
in high school to a T, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know those people's names. I don't know who you're talking about. So, I have to wonder, like, if she ever experiences, like, deja vu in that sense, because
Yeah.
I know I do, um, but so I wonder if maybe that's my version of her prophetic dreams. Maybe that's what I inherited. Because like, sometimes I'll have, like, deja vu where it's just, like, unnervingly
Yeah.
like, I feel like I was just transported back into a moment that I already
Yes.
experienced.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, "This feels weird."
Yeah,
Like, I
and, like,
remember this.
when you feel it to that extent too, it's like, "Is this happening?" Like
Yeah,
it's a really wild feeling.
to the point where you kinda look around, you're like, "Okay, everything seems normal, but this feels very weird."
Yeah.
So, I guess, are there any other fun stories about your mom you wanna share?
Um, yeah. So there's, in Dallas, and I'll plug them, the oldest witch shop in Dallas is called Labyrinth.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, they're in Lower Greenville, they're great.
Oh, that's why we haven't gone. That was
Yeah.
that's really
They also
far.
have they also have weird hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so you kind of have to go, like, on a Saturday, and it's just not an area that's like, "Let's go on a Saturday."
Yeah.
It's run by these, as far as I know, 2 ladies. I'm sure they have other people working for them. They rescue the local cats,
Aw.
and it's in this, like, 100-year-old house
Oh my god.
that they've painted purple.
I love it.
Yeah, one of them is, like, a very established, like, herbologist, like,
Mm.
true mastery of herbs, and so she does sell, like, her salves and stuff, and so my mom buys her muscle rub salve in, like, bulk, because for fibro, it's just really the only thing that she's found that helps.
Yeah.
Um, but the first time we went, I was kind of like I wasn't like, "Woo, let's go," I was like, "Hey, do you wanna go with me?" Because we were gonna be, like,
Mhm.
in the area, and she
Yeah,
was like, "Yeah, sure." Um, and then, she asks me to explain all the weird things that are
of course.
around. Yeah, because it's, like, phallic candles and everything else that you find in, like, Wiccan shops. Uh,
Yeah.
and then she found the muscle rub, so we bought that. And when we checked out and, like, I had been there before, and so, like, I had talked to the lady in passing, but we had never had, like, a really serious conversation,
Mhm.
and I've seen the lady interact with, like, multiple people, and she had never done this before, but she had, like, a really specific, like, long conversation with my mom about, like, my mom being this, like, really beautiful soul and
Oh.
everything, and so, for me, it was really interesting, like, taking my mom into this place and, like, this lady who I've never seen do this before, like, go which I know that took, like, her emotional energy to complete that action on top of
Mhm.
that, and I don't know if my mom understands, like, what happened in it like, in the full extent, um,
Yeah.
but she definitely, like, walked away like, very much changed from that experience, and
Mhm.
I think it was that experience that allowed her to, like, accept
Open up
it. Yeah.
spiritually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's so
yeah.
cool.
So, shout
I
out to
love
them.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to send me the link and I'll put it, like, in the description or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Um, I've never dragged my mom to a metaphysical shop, mostly because when I moved out here, it was during COVID at
Yeah,
first, and then, me and my really close friend from high school went down to visit some of the shops. So, I had never been in them before, so
yeah,
I wasn't gonna be like, "Hey, mom, go to
yeah.
this shop with me," because I
They're
didn't
not all made equal.
exactly.
Yeah,
I didn't know what we'd be walking into, so, um, but that would be curious. She would be solidly disinterested, I'm sure. I don't think she'd, care to yeah, because I was gonna say maybe the incense, but she doesn't like smelly things because of her allergies,
yeah,
so same with candles. She wouldn't care at all about the crystals, so it'd be a very weird visit for her.
yeah. Yeah, Labyrinth is unique in that very much, like, they're also, like, creating and producing a lot of the products that they're putting on the
Yeah.
shelves, which is cool, um, but yeah.
Yeah, I could see that, especially if it was a shop that had more of a section for, like, bath and body type stuff.
Yeah.
She'd probably enjoy that because she does like the baths, she likes my salves and stuff like that, so if I ever found a shop that kinda had a nice balance of that kinda stuff, I'd probably be able to take her to that and she'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
But so actually, I was thinking back on your relationship with your crow. When I was a kid, my mom always called me the cat whisperer. So, cats just really liked me, and I really liked cats, and I still don't think too much of it, but, um, I think back to my grandmom's, like, she was the equivalent of, like, a barn cat. She was an
Yeah,
outdoor cat that my grandma fed and got spayed, and she lived on the property, but
yeah,
she lived in the country, so that was a barn cat.
yeah,
S Apparently semi-feral,
yeah,
but she loved me, and I
yeah.
loved her, and, like, we would play in the yard, and,
Mhm.
like, she'd let me pick her up and pet her, and I would anytime I was down there visiting, I'd feed her, give her fresh water. She We just had a ball, and a few older cousins came over. I was sitting on the step, and she was eating, and I was just petting her while she was eating because I just fed her. They got out of the car and they froze, and they were like, "Oh my god, it's midnight." And they wouldn't move, and they're like, "Oh my god, how are you petting her?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They were like, "She attacks our feet every time we walk to the house." And I'm like, "Who? This cat?" And they were, like, terrified. They walked around to the other side
Oh
of
my
the house
gosh.
to enter, and I'm like, "I've never seen her do that. She's never done that to me." And afterwards, like, after I got cleaned up and she was done eating, she went off to do her own thing. They were like, "She attacks us as soon as we get out of the car," and I was like, "Oh, I pick her up and carry her around all the time." So, I always had, like, weirdly good relationships with cats.
Yeah.
It's very odd, and even my childhood cat, became like my cat, you know? He was a street cat that I fed, and then he never went away, and
Well,
he
even,
was
like, the cat we ran into in Canada,
Yes.
it just, like, straight rolled over for belly rubs. It was like,
Yeah,
"I don't know you, but pet me."
exactly, and I'm like, always have those cat moments where, like, just random cats are like, "Okay, you can love me now."
Yeah. "I'm here."
And, like, my childhood cat used to follow me to school. I remember he used to, like, trail behind me and the dog when we'd go for our walks, and he would just go on a walk with us, and just when we, would have to move along, I'd call him, and he'd just come trailing along behind us, and I'm like, "This is normal. This is cat behavior."
Yeah, solid cat behavior.
Yes, this is completely normal. So, I never really thought much of it, but yeah, my mom always thought it was funny because she was like, "Yeah, you're a cat whisperer."
"She's a witch, bro."
Yeah, here I am, like, especially as a kid, petting this, like, little Midnight obviously was a black cat, petting this cat who literally hates everybody, and she's letting me pet her while she's eating, which, some feral cats will literally, like, tear your face off
Yeah.
if you did that.
Oh, that's so
So, yeah, I guess I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but my mom definitely was like, "This little weirdo."
funny. Well,
Aw, you're getting cat lovin's?
yeah, there's so much cat fur on my laptop now.
Oh, yeah. We still did better than we did the last episode. We had, Apollo was
Gosh.
screaming in the background, and then both Newly and Calypso made an appearance.
Yeah, and just for everyone's curiosity, I have 3 cats. This is the last one. There's no more.
We've officially seen all of the cats.
Yeah, we haven't seen Luna yet.
No, we haven't, have
Yeah,
we? Did we actually see Apollo? Did I pull him up on
I
screen?
think you did, yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah,
he was circling me like a
yeah,
shark, but I think Luna's usually good around this time.
yeah.
But
She'll
it's
make
the
an appearance one day.
one day she's gonna get fed up and she's gonna be like, I'm tired of not being on camera.
Make me famous.
I know, it's like, get me from my good side.
Yeah.
But so, is there anything else that you want to say about your mom before we end today's episode?
No, just that I love her very much and she's amazing. And yours is too.
I know. I can't wait for all the moms to get together. So just before we end, everybody knows Lauren's mom has actually come to Christmas with me and my mom, and she came over our house. So we have two of the three moms that we've been wanting to get together. We have to get the third one in, and then the stars will align, and
Yeah,
we'll literally have two trifectas happening.
yeah, yeah. My mom got trashed. It was a great time.
Oh yeah, she got super chocolate wasted,
Wasted.
which is my fancy way of saying white girl wasted,
Yeah,
but
it's true.
but it was so funny. Drunk moms are hilarious.
They are the best.
So I guess for me, I would just say Happy Mother's Day to my mom, to your mom, and all of the moms out there. If you're listening and your mom, Happy Mother's Day. If you're a fur mom, then still Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening to our stories about our moms.
I'll do the woo.
Your closing dance.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you comment below. If you're listening to us and you'd like to send some commentary over, you can use our email address. And we will see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye.